Mark Etheridge joins us, covers college baseball for the great folks over at D1 Baseball. Mark, you were in Mobile last night to check out Ole Miss versus South Alabama. Not a great game for the Rebels by any stretch of the imagination, but they've been one of the pleasant surprises of this college baseball season. When you look at this Ole Miss team, what has been the secret to them being so far ahead of where their expectation level was?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I saw them certainly their worst game of the season, and talked to Mike Bianco after the game, and he's like, I wish we'd talked like 4 hours ago, because it's certainly the way they played last night was not how they had played, the majority of the season, and really the big part that's been different for them this year is just how consistent they've been, being able to get strong starts in the mound. You've got some older guys who certainly are healthy now, like in the case of Hunter Elliott, or just have taken that next step. And then throughout the lineup, they've had some newcomers emerge, either from the portal or guys who really had, or there's a few freshmen as well, but also some guys that didn't have as big a roles last year as they're having this year, and they're able to kind of mix all of that together with all those new players, blend it in, and have some consistent at-bats, have more stability, I would say. I certainly think it's a deeper lineup than it was a year ago, and certainly on the mound, they've been able to avoid, so many crooked innings that really hurt them a year ago.
So tell me one thing that you've noticed or observed about that team that you think will allow them to continue this and have a really strong conference play. And then on the flip side, what is something about them that you may think could really start struggling now that league play is here?
Well, certainly having Hunter Elliott back, and he is, at this point, he may be better than he was in his great freshman year just because he's so much more experienced. He's been through so much. When you have a guy like that to lead off your staff, and you feel like he's going to get you deep in the game on Friday and save some of that bullpen for the rest of the week, and also be one of the better pitchers in the league. I feel like that sets them apart. Everybody doesn't have a guy like that, and they certainly do. I feel like the other strength would be just the depth of the lineup. With Ryan Moorman becoming a power source in there, Judd Udemark is also kind of taking a step forward from a power standpoint. You have to hit home runs to be successful in the SEC. You're not going to small ball your way to enough wins because you just aren't going to be able to keep up. So I think that gives you some hope that Ole Miss is going to be more physical than perhaps they've been in some of the other years, and that would be throughout the lineup. I think the concern would be pitching depth. What does the bullpen look like? Is Mason Morris that guy? Is Connor Spencer that guy? Are they ready to take the next step and give you those? Because if you use those, what's next? And maybe that's a factor of me seeing them last night really struggle on the mound. I think they used 8-9 pitchers, and really there wasn't a whole lot of success. And give South Alabama credit. They came out fighting and really took it to Ole Miss, and it was kind of over before it started.
Outside of the game against Southern Mississippi, Mississippi State hasn't played incredible competition since they left that tournament in Houston, but they are playing better baseball. It looks like they're finding some consistency, especially at the plate. This is a team that looks like it's going to continue to hit into SEC play. When you look at the Bulldogs, do you see that as well? Is this a lineup that 1 through 9 seems to be finding a little bit of a groove?
Well, that's going to be the key because I think they're going to pitch. I'm not sure who those guys are going to be, but they've got so many options. It's power arm after power arm after power arm, and I feel like that, there may be some trial and error as they get the right guys in the right roles, but at some point it's going to click, and that's going to be one of the best pitching staffs in the conference. The question for me is offensively, what are you getting out of Hunter Hines? He certainly got a slow start, but he seems like he's starting to come around a little bit. What is Ross Highfield? A really talented catcher, and really, you could call him an outfielder too. Just a great athlete. What does he give you this year? And then H. Reese is off to a great start. Now he moves into SEC play. Can he continue that certainly as the competition increases. And boy, what a run Aaron Downs is on, right? I mean, he's really turned it on in the last 2-3 weeks. Just been a tremendous power threat. And that's really not something he's been throughout his career. He's been a guy we heard about, and hey, he could really be a factor this year, but it just hasn't. He's had moments, but it hasn't really materialized. Certainly nothing like how he's performing now. So I feel like that's the key. They need somebody to step in and be those run producers in the middle of the lineup, and then also just be able to give them the lineup depth. So 7, 8, 9 or are going to fight you and flip that lineup over more frequently.
Mark, you've been covering college baseball a long time, and I think you and I are around the same age. I thought the days of gorilla ball, I thought they took care of all that. They got rid of those balls and bats. And what's going on in Knoxville that they are just knocking the ball out of the park at record paces? I don't think Brandon Larson's single-season home run record is in jeopardy, but maybe I could be wrong on that. Yeah,
isn't it something? I mean, and it's not just Tennessee, although they're certainly the leader in that. It's an offensive game, and I think a big part of that, some people will say it's the balls, and I don't know, but I feel like there's such a emphasis on body composition and studying your mechanics and your getting the optimum movement, and I just think people are more optimized for power right now. And you add in all of the power arms, and velocity's never been higher. You don't have to generate as much power. And then some of the ballparks are, they're a little cozy, we'll say. And I think you put all of that together, and that's why you're seeing a whole lot of home run numbers. And the other part of this is, in the SEC specifically, you win with home runs and strikeouts. Okay, that's the factor that everyone's looking for. And so that kind of propagates itself because the best teams do it, and then they get emulated, and then everyone else is doing it too. And it's so you have more options of guys who can do that because that's what's being rewarded. The guy who would go out there and just hit line drive after line drive, maybe he doesn't get the opportunity like the guy who doesn't make as much contact, but when he does, it's going 400 feet.
Is Texas A&M going to be okay?
I'm worried, dude. I really am. They have an incredibly talented lineup that is the last in batting average in the SEC. They're still hitting some home runs, but great pitching staff. But they're not fielding the ball. They're not hitting for average. They had 4 hits the other day against New Mexico State in a loss. I mean, it's really baffling because a lot of these guys are proven hitters, and they're just not getting it done. You know what I wonder, though? I wonder if, so much of their preseason has been played against teams that they should overwhelm. And they're seeing 88-mile-an-hour fastballs. And I wonder if when SEC play starts and they're seeing the better competition and more velocity, I wonder if they don't play better against that. Because that's what they're geared up to do, and I feel like, you know how it is. Sometimes you get those thumbers in there that really know how to mix and match because that's all they have, and they can give you more trouble than the velocity guys if you're tooled up like a team like A&M. We'll see. They play Alabama this weekend, and Alabama's playing really good. Talking about home runs, Justin LeBron's on a tear, man, leading the SEC in home runs and RBI. I mean, he's maybe 175 pounds. I mean, he's not a big dude. So that'll be a really fascinating series in College Station.
We got about 60 seconds left. State hosts Texas this weekend. Ole Miss hosts Arkansas. Which home team is more likely to take the series?
I'm going to go Mississippi State here. I feel like playing at home in that environment should be, I know there's basketball going on, but it should be really nice crowds. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Texas is coming into an environment like that for the first time. I feel like that's an advantage. Meanwhile, Arkansas is really freaking good. I mean, they've got great pitching. They're starting. It looks like this year they're a lot more offensive. Ole Miss is good, but I think Arkansas is better.